The rope is already tight around his wrists when the bucket is brought into the room. Mud dries on the boots of the soldiers, flakes of it falling onto the packed dirt floor of the farmhouse. The smell arrives before the liquid does. Rot, stable runoff, the sour thickness of manure and stagnant water mixed together until it becomes something heavier than air. Hans Bauer kneels beneath the weight of two men pressing down on his shoulders. His ribs show through the torn linen of his shirt. The war has already taken his cattle, his grain, his eldest son. What remains is a house stripped to beams and a cellar that echoes when opened. Captain Lars Nystrom does not kneel. He stands. The metal of his breastplate catches the thin afternoon light that pushes through the smoke outside. Somewhere beyond the wooden walls, Franconia burns in patient silence. This is the 1630s, deep inside the Holy Roman Empire, where the 30 Years' War no longer marshes an army, but seeps like disease. Villages are not conquered, they are emptied. The captain nods once. A gloved hand forces Hans's jaw open. Fingers dig into the hinge until something shifts with a dull crack. The first splash misses his mouth and runs down his beard, soaking into his collar. The second finds its way inside. It is thick, warm, alive with the taste of animal waste and old water pulled from a ditch where hooves have churned the earth black. His throat convulses. He tries to turn away. The rope holds him upright. More is poured. His stomach swells quickly, unnaturally, as though something inside him is being inflated. The soldiers laugh without sound, their breath visible in the cold room. Outside, smoke continues to drift across the doorway. Matthias Krogmer is forced to watch from the corner, his split lip crusted with dried blood. He has already spoken of the hidden coins. There were none. Hans tries to vomit. A fist slams into his sternum. The liquid forces itself deeper. It was said in nearby Wurzburg that the Swedes preferred this method because it left fewer visible marks. Peasants whispered that men who survived the Swedish Drink would burst days later in their fields, their bellies unable to contain what had been forced into them. Modern scholars consider such tales exaggerated by fear and hatred toward foreign troops. What cannot be disputed is the documented use of forced ingestion of foul substances during interrogations across parts of southern Germany during this decade. The bucket empties. Hans does not collapse. Not yet. His abdomen is rigid, distended against the coarse fabric of his shirt. His breath becomes shallow, each inhale fighting the pressure beneath his ribs. Captain Nystrom steps closer, removing one glove. He presses two fingers into the swollen flesh as if testing ripeness. The farmer's eyes widen, pale blue against the grime of his face. More water is demanded. The second bucket is worse. It has settled longer. Straw fragments float on its surface. The smell changes the room itself. Matthias turns his head and retches, earning the back of a hand across his temple. Outside, a horse screams briefly before going silent. In Bamberg, in Rothenburg, in villages whose names are already being forgotten, doors are kicked open in similar rhythm. This is not an isolated cruelty. It is repetition. Hans's body begins to fail in small ways first. A thin line of blood escapes from the corner of his mouth where the jaw was forced too wide. His vision blurs. The ceiling beams above him appear to bend. He hears water rushing inside his ears, though none is there. The pressure in his gut climbs past pain into something else, something vast and consuming. He cannot swallow anymore. The liquid spills from his mouth and nose, but hands close tighter around his face, forcing his throat to accept what it no longer can. The rope cuts into his wrists as he strains against it. His boots scrape uselessly against dirt. Then something inside him tears. It is not loud. It is a soft internal surrender, a rupture hidden beneath skin and bone. His body convulses once, sharply, and then he collapses forward, heavy and unresisting. The soldiers step back to avoid the spreading filth beneath him. There is no ceremony, no declaration. Captain Nystrom wipes his bare fingers on a scrap of cloth and pulls his glove back on. The house feels smaller now, its beams closer, its air depleted. Matthias crawls toward the wall, pressing his spine against wood, darkened by years of smoke. Word will travel, not by messenger, but by absence. A field left unplowed. A woman found digging alone behind a house that no longer stands. In the weeks that follow, other villages along the main river begin hiding wells, poisoning their own livestock rather than surrendering supplies. In parts of Thuringia, rumors claim that the Swedish drink is reserved only for those who lie. Elsewhere, it is said the innocent suffer longest because they have nothing to confess. One account insists the method was invented by desperate mercenaries unpaid for months. Another suggests it was older, borrowed from earlier wars, and simply given a new name by those who endured it. Only one certainty holds. Fear spreads faster than armies. By winter, the story of Hans Bauer has shifted shape. In some retellings, he cursed his captors even as he drowned from within. In others, he begged. Parish records in nearby towns noted death without detail. A male peasant of middle years, cause unrecorded. Matthias survives the season but refuses to speak of what he saw. Years later, his neighbors claim he would stop drinking water altogether for days at a time, staring into empty cups as if expecting them to rise against him. The war moves north, then south again. Commanders change. Uniform colors shift with alliances. Yet the technique persists in scattered reports, a method requiring no elaborate device, no scaffold, no wheel. Only buckets and men willing to hold another man still. In the 1640s, as treaties are whispered in Westphalia and diplomats warm their hands over negotiated peace, the countryside remains altered. Wells are approached with caution. Children are warned not of ghosts in forests, but of soldiers carrying pails. The body remembers what documents do not. Some chroniclers argue that such acts were rare, magnified by propaganda against the Swedish crown. Others quietly acknowledge that scarcity breeds ingenuity in cruelty. The truth lies buried beneath burned villages and unmarked graves, beneath soil enriched by what was spilled into it. Captain Lars Nyström's name does not appear in grand histories. He is one among thousands who marched under banners through the fractured lands of the Holy Roman Empire. Whether he lived to see peace or fell in another nameless skirmish is uncertain. But the method he supervised outlived him, etched into regional memory long after uniforms rotted away. Even decades later, elders in Franconia would lower their voices when recounting the war years. They would describe the silence inside a farmhouse just before the bucket tipped. They would recall the smell, the swelling, the waiting. They would insist that the worst part was not the death itself, but the deliberate filling, the transformation of sustenance into weapon, because water is meant to sustain. And in that decade, it was made to destroy. The 30 Years' War officially ends in 1648, yet in isolated hamlets along the Main and deeper into Bavaria, suspicion lingers like smoke trapped in rafters. Hospitality fades. Doors remain barred even in daylight. A bucket carried across a yard is no longer an innocent object. It is a memory. What survives of Hans Bauer is not his body, nor a grave marker, nor a line in a royal archive. What survives is the knowledge that a man can be forced to drown without a river, without a sea, without even leaving his own home. And if such a method required no special tool, no decree, no architect of torment, how many other doors were closed that decade, with no witness left alive to remember?